tank.
Nice. Yeah, I'm on a Valorant kick right now. It's
Nice.
addicting. It's
Okay.
so like tactical.
Yeah. Valorant is crazy from what I understand. All right, you want to do a little mic check?
Check 1 2 1 2.
So regardless of whether or not like we talk or you turn to me or look at me, just when you look at me, as much as you can, like go around.
Keep the
mic.
mouth closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is cool. And then I'll just like guide you
Yeah.
into all this stuff. I'll probably introduce you. So if you want to like keep your introductions like really brief, like hey, I'm Paul Crary.
Yeah, you got
Crary.
Position Music, Director of Digital Marketing.
Hold on. Let me write down your title officially. What is it?
Paul Crary. So you said it perfect. Position Music, Director of Digital Marketing.
Director of Digital Marketing.
You got it.
That's interesting. And then we'll probably talk about TikTok, like you said.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to send this to my friend if you don't mind, the link.
No worries. Yeah, if you like this is like...
Gotcha. Oh, we're up. Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you like this and the vibes here, you're going to like the commercial spots.
Yeah.
So I have this place like vibey enough for video.
Right.
And I have it's like technically speaking, these speakers, I am one of 3 people in LA to have these speakers or anything from this company.
Can we bump some shit after this?
Of course.
Okay.
And you should listen to some, and it's different because like you've listened to probably some like big speakers.
Yeah.
But these,
Slap.
you'll never hear detail like this anywhere else.
Ooh,
It's
please.
insane. It's insane.
As an audio nerd, I can't wait for that, DK.
There you go. Well, let's get right into it. If that's cool.
Let's do it, bro.
And we'll slowly. I didn't promote anything. I could ping the Discord. I guess we might as well.
I'm just gonna hit my friend. He's a big Twitch
Like
person.
a small Discord thing going on. At everyone. Special. What do you call it? Last minute.
There you go.
Oh, it's a nice keyboard. It's a nice keyboard. With the. Yeah, dude, I'll let you use all my other stuff. All the keyboards, I'll let you like test them out and stuff.
Amazing.
Okay, sweet. Cool. Howdy, everybody. Let me also do this as well. Twitch. And then... Okay. Sweet. Just in case we get like questions and stuff and it doesn't pop up sometimes, the chat just doesn't work on the other stuff. So we're just going to make sure it's running. Cool. We're just going to keep going. Yeah, this is like a random thing. So we're not going to get like a huge things, but we're going to record it anyway. Get it
all
up.
Good.
All right, let's start recording. Sorry, just to make it easier, I wait till the line. Hello and welcome back to the Mixing Music Podcast. I'm your host, DK, and today we have a very special episode. We don't do guests very often on this show, but we have a special guest here today who is very knowledgeable, who has a lot of experience. If you've been listening to the pod, you know how much I think the idea of like business or marketing or things outside of the creative process of actually making music, how important that is, how mysterious it all seems. And honestly speaking, I'm just really excited to have a master at his craft, someone that is knowledgeable about digital marketing specifically for musicians. Here we have Paul Crary, who is the Director of Digital Marketing at Position Music, here with us today. Paul, welcome to the Mixing Music Podcast.
Thanks, DK. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm excited that you're here too. We have a lot of things that I want to ask you about. No prep on this episode, just totally. I know a lot of people are interested. Everybody knows marketing is an important part of music, right? Everybody starts creating music, and then it's like it could be the best song ever.
Yeah.
16 monthly listeners.
Yeah.
They're not sure what to do. There's some fears, some insecurities, everything. Everybody has different things going on. But let's start off with this. In the context of music, as much as possible, what is marketing, and what is the role of a marketer in the context of music entertainment?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think too, real quick, Position Music, the company I work for, is an indie label here in LA, and I get
A big one.
It's a big one. We're growing quickly. Yeah.
One of the biggest indie labels. Am I
would
not
say
right?
so. Definitely the biggest indie publisher in the world, one of them, and hopefully soon one of the bigger indie labels in the world. So
the fact that you work for them is like, it's no small thing.
Yeah, 40 plus employees. I was employee 14. I've been there for 7 years
14
now.
out of 40,
Yeah,
7 years.
It's
Dang.
growing quickly. Check us out, Position Music. But you bring up the 16 monthly listener thing, and one thing that's kind of cool about my job is I get to work with artists on that level. Sometimes we sign people who have never commercially released a track, but they're thinking about it, or they're going to, and those are honestly some of my favorite projects to work on.
Oh, of course.
But then I also do get to do the they already have 2 million monthly listeners, 4 million monthly listeners, and that comes with other goals and ideas as well. But what is music marketing? For me, as a music fan, I think there's music for everyone's ears. Like, you just have to find your audience. And I think in today's landscape of music, there's so many different ways to market your music. There's so many different people that can access your music. I always think back to what my grandpa, how he would have to go to the record store, get some recommendation from the guy there, the girl there, and hopefully like the record based on I don't know, the album art or vibes.
Yeah.
And now you can do so much research. You can Google, you can be on Twitch, you can be on TikTok, and there's just so many different avenues. We have Spotify and Apple, and here in the Western world, we're so lucky. We have pretty much all recorded music in our phones, in our pocket. And so for me, it's a exciting idea that excites me, but it also scares me. It's how do you cut through the clutter? How do you, what's the stat these days? I think 100,000 new songs a week are uploaded. I don't know. That could be wrong. Don't quote me.
Some crazy number.
It's some insane, you know? And there's a lot of talented people out there. And so how do you tell your story and do it in a different way than everyone else and stand out? And so a big part of my job is just giving these artists those tools. A lot of times these artists are maybe afraid or self-conscious about what they're posting, about their music, about their image, and sometimes I just have to be a cheerleader.
It's funny, as someone that is a natural creative, super creative, right? Have you met anybody that's ultra creative and not at least a little bit neurotic?
Oh, yeah.
So
Totally.
There's definitely a little bit of that everybody has to balance.
For sure.
I want to speak in practical terms here, right? There's probably a listener here on the podcast that has that same situation, 6 to 10 monthly listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Their music, between you and I, lots of potential. We actually probably personally dig it. Okay, and you, for whatever reason, are tasked to help this person market themselves. Now, we know the general ideas of find your audience, create your story. But from the beginning, if you meet someone from the beginning and your job is to help distinguish and find their audience, what sort of steps are you taking to find an audience? What sort of steps are you taking to create a story?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of trial and error and just go for it. I think when you're at that stage in your career, you actually have the ability to just post and just try shit and just try new TikToks, do different formats, be weird, be funky, be yourself. I think when you start getting an audience, it almost creates a chilling effect, and you're more scared to change the formula. So I think when you're at that young career, it's just get as many posts up as you can. Think of
what is a classic amount of a good amount of posts?
So,
once a day, once a week?
Well, TikTok would tell you once a day. I think more realistically, just to have a good life balance and not be, living on social media, I think 2 to 3 times a week, every other day is a good cadence, in my opinion. Now, there is times when it's a release cycle and you're about to drop a single or an album or a music video, and you kind of get the opportunity to post more during those times. And then there's off cycle times where you can kind of, not talk about your music. Maybe you have a side hobby. I think a lot of artists these days are discovered through like other means. Like maybe you like to stream, maybe you're playing games on Twitch. Like you can use that as a marketing vehicle. I've had it the other way where I have an artist who makes amazing music, has a lot of listeners, but I'm like, dude, you could make money by showing the other sides of you and your other hobbies. And so it's like, it's a digital landscape now. I think like don't hold back, and really be authentic, and think of like, when you're at that stage, the 16 monthly listeners, you have the ability to try stuff. You can archive stuff. That's the other thing I always tell artists is like, dude, if it doesn't work, just hide it. Like, it's okay. I mean, you obviously want every post to like catch the algorithm and do all these things, but that archive button's pretty nice too. Like, it's not up there forever.
Like fuck around and find out.
Yeah, dude. Like seriously, trial and error. I went to South by Southwest, and I can't even remember who was speaking. Forgive me, but he talked about how he was like a VC guy or something like that, and he says, I look for people who have like pushed the limits, made mistakes, and like learned from that, and are quick to fail and quick to learn. Not don't make the same mistake twice. That's always like, if the post didn't work the first time, or maybe first 4 times, probably not a good formula or a good thumbnail that you're using. But I think the people that are down to just like try it, go really far. We have an artist named Ryan Oakes, Oakes, and he's one of those rare breeds where he just can do everything TikTok on his own. I help him a little bit, but like he just tries stuff, and he just doesn't really, he almost has like a I don't give a fuck attitude, and I think it really
Which is
does
important.
well. Yeah. And the fans love it, man.
Anybody
Eat it up.
with any sort of success has to have some kind of don't give a fuck.
Totally.
Whether it's from a level of naive delusion, or whether it's from something that's learned. I don't know about you, but same with me. Like, as I get older, the less I give a fuck about what other people think.
100%, dude.
Like,
Yeah. And Ryan has haters, and he just like laughs, and he's just he's like, great, thanks for the engagement. Like, it's like,
Talking funny. About haters, do you know David Goggins?
Yeah, of course.
Have you heard in his second book, he talks about his mixtape of hate, where he reads out loud and records his own voice of all the haters and Instagram comments, and he runs while listening to his mixtape where he's reading the hateful comments. He's just like owning it.
I love that.
But the point is like, hate is inevitable, right? And it's more about, I love this idea. You spoke a little bit briefly on authenticity. Now, the normal consumer, the thing about marketing, the fear with marketing is that the idea of it feels super unnatural and forced. Mm-hmm. How do we get Beyonce on here? Mm-hmm. We get Beyonce to look like she's the top dog, like she doesn't give a fuck. Actually, we don't know what Beyonce's actually like, but there's like this media thing going on. Now, I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot to say about this.
Yeah.
But I think the question that I want to bring this down to is, what is it more important to find your audience or to create your audience?
That's a really good one. I think when you think of Beyonce like that, when you reach a certain plateau, the rules are like, don't apply to you.
There's a threshold.
Yeah. Like you reach like an Olivia Rodrigo, by the way, like she just released a music video last night, and I'm like, I always look at kind of the top people or whatever, how they market their music. She's so big at this point, so in the zeitgeist, that she can just do one post, say the song's out now, and like it's gonna work. I think for the 99.9% rest of us,
even people that are just under her,
yeah, totally, 10 million monthly listeners, they don't have that. You got to grind. You got to make sure every fan is responded to, and like is totally feels part of the community. I think that's like, what's really cool about today is like with Patreon or Discord, like you can really create a movement, even this podcast, like you have the premium offering, and you can kind of create these tiers of like, I'm a super fan. And like, there's this there's this other theory. Again, I'm butchering. I'm trying to reference the right people, but if you can have 1,000 fans that will pay $10 a month, like 1,000 diehard ride or die DK fans, like you can make it, man. You can make it with those
$10,000 a month.
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
And
let's
so,
say
like-
it's on Twitch and they take a 50% commission. That's
yeah.
still $5,000 a month.
Hey, that pays rent.
Yeah.
Even in New York or LA or
Yeah.
London, whatever. Like, and so like I always look for when with growing artists and artists that are in that, 0 to, let's just say, 4 million monthly listener range. How do you connect to your super fans every single time? And how do you make them turn into advocates for your music? Because, like, let's be real. It's hard to, like, hear a song on TikTok and, like, immediately decide to leave TikTok, go to Spotify, save it to your library, whatever. But if DK is like, yo, Paul, you got to hear this fire. Like, I'm texting you right now. Like, did you see this mixtape from, I don't know, Skepta or whoever? That is, like, the ultimate... The word of mouth marketing, there's never going to be a better medium than word of mouth. And so how do you engage your core fans to do that with their people? Like, that's always a lens that I look at for our artists. Like, yeah.
So with the core fans, going back to the demographic thing, I mean, with a product, you don't want to sell someone a pencil if they've already got a pencil, unless it's like a better pencil, like it's features, right? Where it's like, this solves a problem that you already have. But with music and entertainment, there's not it's not like really a problem solution type of relationship.
Yeah.
It's like a social currency type thing. So the question is, with a product, you're literally finding your demographic. Okay, I sell electric surfboard fins with a fan on it. I got to target surfers at the
Right.
very least, maybe
Right.
young surfers that are willing to try stuff out. But
Yeah, I see
in
what
music,
you're saying.
there's some people that like create an audience, like, and maybe it's like intentional, but they find an. Do you find that people find an opening and take that opening, or they create openings by being authentic?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. If I had, gun to my head, I had to say, I think the music, I know it's cliche, but the music also finds the right people. Like, I think,
Oh, it like self-qualifies.
yeah, in a way, I think if you're authentic, we do, algorithms, it's a buzzword right now. I think there's pros and cons, not to get too philosophical, but I think any technology is like net neutral, but people can use it for good or bad. Like, I just saw Oppenheimer and I was just thinking about that, but that's a whole different tangent. But like the algorithms do expose people to new music. Like, I'm talking like Spotify radio, your release radar, these made for you playlists. And I think if your music is well mastered, well mixed, sounds good. Shameless plug. This dude knows
Sounds
how to do
expensive.
it. Yeah. It's mixed by DK. But if you can catch those listeners who are hearing your stuff for the first time in that like radio, like, oh, I'm going to let the algorithm run today. I'm cooking or something. And I don't want to touch my phone. And I like kind of the vibe after I played my favorite artist. It kind of went to this. I think if your music, if it hits that chord, for me, it's like the music that like touches my heart and like, or it gets me stoked to play basketball or lift weights or go on for a run. Like, if you can, if you get it into the system, people will just, because of these robots and algorithms, have the chance to hear it and maybe like it and have that moment. And I think that wasn't around, 15 years ago, even before 20 years ago, before the internet was really a thing. I think there were so many gatekeepers with like the record store, MTV, CDs, and just like physical product. It was so much harder to get your music out, just the distribution. I'm kind of a rare breed who thinks like Spotify kind of saved the industry.
No,
in a way. But some people,
statistically,
it
you are
did.
completely right.
Some people don't like Spotify, and I get it. They should pay their artists more. I'm all about that. But I just think the ability to like go on CD Baby, go on DistroKid, find a freelance mix master engineer out there, get your shit sounding right, and being able to like pretty much send it out to the whole world, sounds like Russia and maybe North Korea. That's insane, dude. And like,
insane.
the people are there, and you just got to be on top of it. I think also like listening back, like a big part of my job at Position is analytics. what's happening on Deezer, what's happening on WeChat in China, you know, like all these, like, it's not, I think in America we get tied up on just Apple Music, Spotify. Dude, there's other streaming services. There's like this weird, like Thailand one that I don't even know how to pronounce. Like, and there's like little movements happening in all those DSPs too. So like my advice to like the bedroom artists is like, be on top of all that. You don't know where your music's going to pop. Different countries have different tastes. You could have
that's true.
a super fan in, you know, Bangkok, and all of a sudden he shares it at a party or DJs it out. And then it kind of like has a little like sprinkle, you know, cultural moment in this like sub pocket. And like, how do you, the hardest part is just knowing that that's happening. And then the second hardest part is like finding out how you can kind of maximize and optimize that. So I'm a big believer in like the data and just having your data on lock. If I don't know if I can like shout out products, but like Chartmetric.
Oh, I love Chartmetrics.
Super great.
I think it's like $120 a month.
It is a little pricey,
hefty.
you know, but
it's got everything.
It's like the one-stop shop. I use it. I'm a professional marketer or whatever. And it like it's my go-to dashboard for like, all right, I'm working on Kid Bloom's release cycle right now. What is happening? You know, and like Chartmetric.
Who else is listening to people that listen to Kid Bloom, and like what other playlist should you apply for? It's a fantastic.
It's a great tool.
Fantastic tool.
And it's like not built by the big DSPs, which I like. It's like indie, kind of has that like.
Is it expensive because they're paying for the analytics?
Yeah, they're all
Spotify
connected
for their
to
analytics.
the APIs, and like they have their data like coming in like every 24 hours it refreshes, which I can't imagine the amount of like server space they need for that. But shout out Chartmetric for sure. And these distributors, you know, like CD Baby, DistroKid. I mean, we work with Virgin Music, but they have really nice dashboards that just check them, you know, just make it. I always make it my my pinned tab on my Chrome browser. So like every time I open up Chrome, I just look at it quick and just see like, did anything spike overnight? Did anything pop? You know, position. We work a lot with sync music. So like our music gets synced a lot into TV shows, video games, movies. And you never know, like the world of sync is so weird. Sometimes you don't even know when a sync is happening. As weird as that sounds, it like can move really fast. And a lot of times, again, this is just unique to position music, but a sync will happen overnight and all of a sudden it'll be like a moment. I'll always remember when our song was placed in Bridgerton, is Wildest Dreams by Duomo. It's like a string quartet. They covered the Taylor Swift song. It got used in the hit show Bridgerton. Dude, overnight viral. Like, and I had no idea that this was happening. Like, they didn't tell.
You were sleeping.
I was literally sleeping. And I think it was also like New Year's. I think it came out on Jan 1. I'll always remember this. So I'm like hungover, like, what's happening? And like my A&R guy hits me like, dude, we did it, you know, and like it's just that like epic hockey stick Spotify streams up. But then that's when my job begins, dude. That's not like when my job's over, because I have to then talk to Netflix, talk to you know,
got to monetize that, capitalize that,
make a music video, try to get like every keyword on Duomo's YouTube videos.
That's almost more pressure than if you didn't land anything big, right?
Right. And so again, and it all just comes back to like being on top of your analytics. And you know, Tyler the Creator also has like this epic video. I'll send it to you, DK, after, so you can like put it in the show notes. But he talks about how like there's all this hype around music before it's dropped. Oh my God, did you pitch it Spotify for artists? Did you do all this stuff? Like literally the song hasn't even hit Spotify yet. And then the day it's out, people like forget about it and they're like, oh, it got on this random editorial playlist. But like,
I've already done one TikTok with this song on. I don't want to make a second
no
or third.
one hopped on it. And like Tyler the Creator like talks about like, dude, I market my shit for like months after it's out. Like I'm repping that. And like, it's easy though. I get how it works, because like you're, as a musician in our single world, you're already recording the next single, you know, you're already like on to the next one. But I think like it's a frustration of mine in the industry of like, it's all this lead up until release day. And then like after 48 hours after it's out, it's like, we're already talking about the next track. And so like, I always tell my artists, like, hang on to it. Like, let it ride out. Like the fans just, I know you've probably heard this song and your mastering engineer has heard this song like 50 times and are sick of it, but your fans aren't. They just heard it for the first time. And so like, I think like with the pre-save culture and all that, it's great and creating hype, but I do think like the work should really begin after it's out. And the industry just for whatever reason, from my experience, doesn't operate like that. And I wish it was different. I wish it was like, you know, after your song is out, then you have all your content come out rather than before. And so I always try to like kind of weave that in as a strategic thing. Like it's not all about the pre-saves and the lead up to the drop day. It's more so afterwards. And again, I'm going to send this Tyler the creator video to
put it
DK,
in the show notes.
but he does a much better job of like talking about that, about how each song is like his baby and he wants everyone to fucking hear it. And he doesn't care what, you know, who stops him or tells him to talk about the next single. He's like, nah, man, we're not done with Yonkers or whatever track, you know, he's talking about at the time. So
This is crazy. You're talking about also you kind of touched on looking at things from a consumer's mindset. Like they've never heard this song. You've been hearing it for the last 6 months, but they've never heard this song. I think going into Spotify, you also spoke on algorithms. I have a little thought on this, and this is algorithms.
What do you think about them?
Dude, algorithms is the biggest blessing ever. Because here's the thing. If it was truly based on money, right? Spotify, their only interest is to sell what makes them money. They have no reason, like part of their marketing and economy of the business is not to raise people up. They only like showcase people if it benefits them and keeps people on the platform. So it's like this mutually beneficial thing that Spotify created that wasn't even a thing before. Like a record shop when it was all cash on hand, right?
Totally.
They have no reason to put your record up because it doesn't sell. Like there's no purpose to even hold it. But because of now, the
like
algorithm,
dead weight.
the fact that we even have a chance, like think with this podcast, right? Apple Podcasts and Spotify promoted this podcast. And when it came out in 2019, we were the #1 new music podcast, #1 new hobbies podcast, #1 new tech podcast. All 3 categories for like a couple weeks straight. That changed the trajectory, and we saw the hockey stick that you talked about, the J curve, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all of the success of the podcast, which is, I mean, from our competitors that are doing similar thing, we're at like a 10 to 100 times difference. And the only difference is algorithm.
Yeah.
I haven't paid for ads. I haven't done anything special. In fact, I think my content is like, cool. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think I'm good at talking, you know, but at the same time, like, I think it's a lot of the work was the fact that I provided something that were keeping listeners, and they were selfishly wanted to keep more listeners on. So I'm making them money. Anyway, so I love that.
Dude, it's totally right. Cause like you got to think of it as you got to put yourself in Apple Music CEO's shoes of like, I want to give people the content that's going to keep them in my app. Like it's just like capitalism at the end of the day. And so if you're providing the content that does that, I think it goes a long way. And it actually brings up a point. I know we were texting earlier, DK, about what to talk about, but early adoption, dude, has gotten me really far in life, honestly.
Well, I mean,
but like early adoption in the tech sense of like, okay, Spotify just released Clips. They're just about to release this pre-save thing. Use that shit, dude. Like Spotify loves it when you are leaning into their new offerings, their new tech. Apple Music, their kind of version is they have this animated artwork thing that anyone can upload for their releases. And like, you'd be surprised at how much those little, you know, because think about it, their tech team has spent like a year building this new feature, and they want adoption. And so if you can be like, yo, Spotify, my distributor, whoever you got to tell, I use your new thing. I use Spotify Clips. I use the new pre-save thing. I made the Apple Music animated art. The playlist editor is pressured to like playlist stuff that uses their new tech. So
there was a thing with Atmos too. Like Apple Music was like promoting
huge.
Atmos.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
Not as much anymore, but like they're still.
It
are
matters.
They still doing it?
It matters
Still
a lot.
matters.
Like
Okay.
for all our, I don't know. How much I
because
should
because
divulge,
they're
but
making more money from it. Like,
totally, and it separates them from Spotify. Like, oh, you can only hear it when you're like using the fucking AirPods or whatever.
yeah.
So
it's a marketing advantage for them to promote it.
yes, totally, it differentiates them.
Although I have to ask you, I have to ask you.
I'm curious what you think about Dolby Atmos.
Atmos on headphones, folded down on headphones with music, doesn't work.
I agree.
It doesn't
Sorry,
work.
Apple.
The punch is gone. When you listen to Atmos, like in a full system array,
Do you mix
sounds
for
great.
Atmos? Are you able to?
I,
it's like a
I do not
different
have. I have a
thing.
stereo setup here.
Yeah, so you can't.
So
Yeah.
I've been thinking about setting up Atmos, but like I also there's not even with the label stuff, there's
Yeah.
not as much demand for it.
It was hot. It's cool for a bit because it's expensive, dude. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times, we work with DK at Position and Hive. Like it takes a whole nother step of a new mixing master and engineer. But yeah, some little levers are better than others. That I'm glad you brought that up because that is literally a discussion point for our frontline releases. Like, should we mix this in Dolby or not? And like,
That's interesting.
every time we have to decide, we have to look at the budgets. Really, I hate that it comes down to money, but it's like, is it worth it?
And that is it worth it threshold line comes down to, is this going to make us money?
Yeah.
So like the amount of money that we spend for this Atmos mix, is the algorithm going to boost us that much? And it takes quite a bit of budget and quite a bit of potential
Yeah.
to make it work.
But
Anyway,
but yeah,
go
just
ahead.
early adoption. I can't stress that enough. And like,
Early adopters always win, and
think-
most people are scared of new
totally,
technologies.
they're like, oh, another thing. But it goes back to our little like fail quickly thing. Like, at least try it, see what it looks like, and you might like. I think a big reason your podcast probably got in the algorithm was you were early into like the mixing mastering podcast.
And the name of the
so-
podcast is Mixing Music. I mean,
right?
I mean, come on. You type it in. We're not even
SEO 's
getting into
all-
SEO.
yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if I'm the best. I'm the first. That's what it is. I want to ask you something which is interesting. I want to. We talked about authenticity, finding your audience, right? And we talked a little bit about practical things like post a lot and do a lot of different things until something stick, and then keep going as long as that makes you feel comfortable. Like if it feels really fake, that's a whole nother situation. But the value of authenticity up until the super high end levels where the rules kind of change a little bit,
Yeah.
you want to start fake fights and fake relationships.
Totally.
That's not in most people,
Yeah.
99% of even the top, But I want to let's talk about this. When you're making posts, right? If I have a product, I'm going to use the product. I'm going to share information about it, maybe talk about why you may need it. But a musician, and this is where I want to ask you, because a musician, a singer, not only are you a singer,
Yeah.
but you are a form of entertainment. And to sell entertainment is very different from a product that solves a problem. Maybe the problem that they're solving is an inability to emote in a specific way.
Exactly.
But with entertainment,
For-
is it worth going, like, should someone who is trying to market their music, is it worth, like, if someone gets accidentally viral? So I have a friend that went viral over talking. This is kind of weird and obscure, but she got viral over talking about how ridiculous, like some sex expectation thing.
Sure.
She was talking about sex,
Sure.
not even about music,
Sure.
and that went viral. I mean, we're talking hella
She
viral.
probably struck a chord. She
It
probably
did.
hit some like honest truth that was true to
it was,
her.
it was funny. It was
okay,
entertaining. Like, it was a TikTok thing. She's
Okay.
like very good at talking.
Okay.
It was entertaining. But
But
the idea that she went viral over general entertainment and that converted to listeners and fans. Do you think, like, every single post that you do, should the average person marketing their music right now, should they 100% focus on music or setting up a brand?
I think both. I think like it's funny because I think each post should have a goal in mind. Like sometimes you just need to convey information. Like
What's an example of a goal? Like a call to action?
Like, hey, I have a new song coming out. I want you to know that this Friday this is happening. But then I think there's the more emotional posts that are like, okay, now I'm going to tell you like why I made this song. Like I went through a breakup, or I, went on a trip and recorded this and blah, blah, blah.
That
And
adds to the story that you were talking about.
and it kind of goes around the like informational posts, if you will. And I think those posts, the emotional ones, the talking about behind the scenes, tend to have a higher propensity to go viral than the posts that just like new music out on Friday and here's my little clip of my music video, like cropped and vertical.
So like those posts tend to have a higher like maybe less views overall, but more percentage of those viewers are retained as fans.
The super fan thing.
So versus like the lady that was talking about sex, like, yeah, sure, she got hundreds of millions of views, but only 60,000 of them stuck around for the music. But I mean, you're not mad about that.
Yeah, I'll take that any day, man.
But I want to talk about the idea of first off, I want to touch into story and what that means. Why is a story important,
dude?
And what's an example of a story?
Yeah, it's everything, man. I think there's.
Why is it everything?
Because it taps into that emotion, and like if
it's relatable.
Yeah, when I listen to music and I'm really inspired by it, like I want to know like what was going through that person's mind, like when she or he made it. I think there's like, I'm trying to think of a good example of one off the top of my head, but like I'm a nerd about like reading Pitchfork articles, reviews, what studio was recorded in, and I just love that like creative process. I think as creative people, if you're listening to this podcast, I assume you're very creative. I think like we want to know the creative process is so cool. I just read Rick Rubin's book. It was amazing. Highly recommended. And just like everyone approaches creativity in different ways. And I think being able to like know your favorite artist and how they made something is just like gold, like content gold. And now there's some artists, like I think of like Frank Ocean, who's like very mysterious, and when he came up, it was like almost this opposite effect where like no one knew who he was. Or like The Weeknd, I don't know if you remember when The Weeknd dropped, but like no one really knew who he was. That first mixtape, it was like this whole like blogosphere, like Drake like tweeted his lyric out. Anyways, there's that route, but again, that's like, those are the like gold herrings. I think for the rest of us, you have to just put yourself out there and tell people, release the music, but also tell them why you made it, how you made it. And I think that's how you're going to capture those super fans.
And that's specific with music, because I remember being like 14, 15 in the car by myself, just like weeping to songs and like saying out loud,
for sure,
while crying, like, this is me.
Yeah, dude.
Like they feel me. This is the only person in the world that feels
Gives me goosebumps. Yeah.
Yeah, no, literally. And I think that's a moment. I hate to say it like this, but man, you can really make a lot of money from those people.
Yeah. Yeah, you can monetize that.
You can monetize that. Yeah. No, but I want to talk about the story, the authenticity thing. I think, is it fair to say that most people struggle with finding how, like, first off, trying to be authentic. You do it on purpose. We know about being authentic. Like, it's hard to figure out who yourself is. Like, you have to go on a journey. You have to try shit out. You have to make mistakes.
Yep.
It might not be till you're like 40, till you're like, oh, you know what? I'm finally comfortable with myself. It might take years of therapy. We don't know. Like, but there's also like this story thing. Like, people don't think they're interesting enough or whatever. There's this like fear around it, or it's like, I'm unrelatable. I'm the weird one.
I'm dealing with that right now with an artist. I don't want to like say names, but it's real, man. And like, we all struggle with mental health and body image stuff, and you do have to like put yourself out there, man, and like there's gonna be
so relatable.
Yeah. I mean,
other people out there.
I do it too on my little lowly Instagram account where I'm like, man, I don't look good. I don't want to post that. We all have that. But I think the artists that tend to do well are the ones who like get beyond that. Like we were talking about, as you get older, the Ryan Oaks,
don't give a shit.
I'm like, this is just me, and like the flaws and all, and like you're gonna deal with it, and I'm gonna talk about it. Like like I think
sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I'm gonna let you finish. I apologize. I apologize.
I was just gonna say, like, it's okay to have the not perfect filtered thing, and in fact, the really well edited TikToks and like cleanly edited shit, that doesn't even work, dude. You want it to look a little like made on your phone and blurry, perhaps, and like that kind of, for whatever reason in our human psyche these days, is what we're drawn to. Like you think of the memes and the like comedy accounts on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm not drawn to
it's lo-fi.
chasers,
like, yeah, like when you see like when you're on TikTok and you see like a ad for Verizon Wireless and it's like a nice camera and all that, you're like swipe. So like, you know.
Yeah, and on that note, what do you feel about like fabricating stories? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are there stories out there? Like, is it ever worth
The
fabricating a
made-up
story?
beef kind of thing.
You know, like, you know, to let's say to the average person, to like the
Yeah.
normal.
Man, I've never done it, so I can't really like speak on it. Like, it feels a little, you know, like stunty or gross to me.
Feels fake.
But I can see like the allure of it, you know, like, oh, we could like do this.
Is it even
thing and
worth
make up
trying to
this whole
fathom?
thing? But I would just, as an honest person myself, I just wouldn't go down that hole, because then it's like, when does it end? You got to keep lying to keep the story going. Like, I see the temptation to do something like that or pull off a marketing stunt, but I think in the end, people would see through it and feel a little cheated or something. But I don't know.
This is
Unless you, yeah.
this is like a personal example that I was thinking of recently. There's for me, and this is like me versus somebody else, right? A classic example of like fabricating versus not fabricating. There's someone on Twitter, I forgot his username, but it's like ADHD Steven, something like that. Steven's entire brand, I don't think that was his actual username, but Steven's entire brand is helping people cope and find out the truth about ADHD, how they can cope with
cool.
it. Like, that's his brand.
That's sick.
For me, I have severe
Oh,
ADHD,
okay.
right? I'm in his potential target demographic, but it would feel super inauthentic if I were to like make a brand off of being ADHD.
Oh, really?
I would never want to be pitied. I don't want anybody to give a shit. Like, that would feel really wrong. And even if it was lucrative, I wouldn't ever do it.
Interesting. Do you like his
But
page? Or do you...
no, I think it's stupid.
Okay.
I don't think anybody should. I personally, this is a personal belief. I don't think anybody should
Is
identify
he trying
as
to
their-
like troll and cause harm?
No,
or-
no,
okay.
he's doing good.
Okay.
The point is like he's doing good and he's helping a lot of people. And if I were to try to do the same thing because I saw how lucrative it was for him, it'd be really inauthentic. So like for him, even if you have the same story, this quote that I thought of, there was somebody that said, I think it was like podcast training. Somebody, I forgot who it was, but there's a podcast that said, everybody is significantly more interesting. Like, their stories are more interesting than they think. So it's like
that.
even if you are bland and boring, there's something about you. Maybe it is you coping with ADHD. Maybe it is you being upset that you don't have kids, or you had kids too young, or something like something where like we have this thing where humans think that they're the only ones going through this issue.
Sure.
But if we're open about it, we don't ever have to fabricate a story, as long as we're authentic. And it's hard to be open.
It's hard. Even you telling me that you have ADHD, I didn't know that until now. And it's like, now I want to ask you a bunch more stuff. But
Yeah.
like, I totally am a big believer in oversharing. The older I get, I think I struggle.
Oh, oversharing.
Yeah.
You're a big believer in oversharing.
Well, to an extent.
To a- yeah.
Like whether it's got to be the right medium, it's got to be the right, you know, I guess I'm blurring the lines between like interpersonal communication and like social media.
no, but I like that idea.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, what's a healthy amount of oversharing?
I mean, for me, like if you're in a studio session, and this is something that I'm lucky enough because position, we have studios on our campus here in LA, but have the camera rolling, dude. Like, just, you never know, like those moments. Like, you guys have all probably seen that like Timbaland showing Jay-Z, what is it, the 99 Problems beat or something. Like, thank God someone was fucking recording that moment where Jay-Z's doing the squinty face and Timbaland's playing the beat, because like that's so cool. Like that's the point of like a huge cultural song moment, like platinum record, like coming to life. And like, dude, you never know when like that might pop off. And you know, luckily our phones and cloud servers, you have the luxury of just like rolling like we are now. And so like just have the chance to overshare. Like I always tell my artists, like, dude, just turn the camera.
Nobody's going to be interested in this.
And if it's
but like,
boring and stupid, just delete the video.
Yeah.
Like, but if there's like, if you're like, damn, that was like a really good session. I felt like I really jived with that producer or whatever it is. And like, I might just hold on to that. And then, I don't know, 6 months later, you release the track and it's all of a sudden charting or something. You have this moment where like, you can share that creative juice. And I think like on a philosophical level, like that inspires more people to do it. And it kind of creates this snowball of just like, creativity, man. So like share that shit, you know, that's like some special sauce right there. So
I love that. I mean, again, for the super fan, like I'm not a fan of music creation in the sense that like I'm not gonna go watch a documentary about an artist that I don't give a shit about.
true.
It's only the
But
ones
you
where
like
it's
music documentaries.
well, I mean, yeah, but like,
or maybe not.
especially I'm not as a big documentary person.
Oh, interesting. See, I'm a nerd about that shit.
Yeah, I love it too.
that.
But even I, who is not in the demographic of a classic documentary, if I really like someone, I'm gonna watch their documentary.
Totally.
So that's very interesting. It's like anyway, but I want to get into another practical thing. You know, some advice. You texted me about potentially want to talk about writing a proper press release.
Yeah.
So going into
cool.
authenticity and presenting yourself. Organizing your rather than instead of saying creating your story, organizing your story.
Yeah. Wow. I'm glad.
Presenting your story. Maybe that's a better way.
Yeah. Cool.
First off, what is the purpose of a press release and an EPK?
Yeah, dude, great question. Shameless plug, but this is a big part of my job at Position. I actually
Really?
work
Okay.
a lot with press agents, and I actually write a lot of our releases.
Oh, you don't just like upload videos and put them in the
No,
YouTube
there's a
tags?
whole other side of it. We're still we're kind of a big company, but I still wear a lot of hats there. And shameless plug, but I did go to school for journalism at Indiana University, so I kind of know some things. But I think like a press release, the best advice I ever got from my journalism school teacher was people are lazy. Journalists are lazy. You want to almost make them be like, damn, this is really well written. I'm just going to copy and paste this into my article, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, as a journalist, they shouldn't do that. But as a PR agent, you want that to be the case where it's like so well dialed in. There's no spelling mistakes. The sentence structure is nice. The order of information. So press release 101, the headline is agonize over that headline. Like the little headline that
Like you
write.
should agonize over that headline.
You should. The most is like, what is keep it short. I'm also channeling Mr. Beast here. He's really good at
Oh, I'm a big
titling
fan, yeah.
YouTube videos. It's the same thing. It's like, what is that sticky kind of headline that's going to be like, because these journalists get so many emails, pitches every day. What's going to stand out? And then B, a killer image. Like sometimes it's the album artwork a lot for me, but make sure your album art is like on point, but also like maybe there's a sick press image of the artist that like is really captivating or really colorful and pops. And then that first, we call it the lead, LEDE, of the press release.
LEDE.
The lead, yeah.
Not LEAD.
I think it's some journalism nerd, but it basically means the first sentence of the press release. And essentially the first sentence should recap as best you can. Don't make it a run-on sentence, but like should just like fully in the most succinct, almost like vanilla way, what it is. Like Kid Bloom releases Shaky Knees via Position Music today.
Hey, I did I do Kid Blue?
I think you might have.
Yeah.
We sent a bunch of people. I don't know. That one got passed around. And so like the first sentence, it's almost like agonize over those three things: headline, image, first sentence. And then after, I'm a big believer in quotes. Give them a quote from you, whether you're writing your own press release or whatever. Like, again, talking about that emotion. The second paragraph, 99% of the time in my press releases is a quote from the artist of like, I wrote Shaky Knees when I was, going through some dark times or whatever. It's like says artist X, and then that way, cause that's really what everyone wants to hear. Like, I'm also a big sports fan, and I believe it or not, I still read about basketball, my favorite sport, but really the older I get, I just skim for the athletes' quotes about the game. like I kind of skip through what the journalist is writing. I'm just like, okay, what did LeBron say about it? That's what I really want. And so like I think making sure that's at the top. And then as you go down the list, then you start to talk about past accolades, maybe past releases, and kind of like, oh, got a co-sign on Spin Magazine last year or whatever. That's kind of like the auxiliary information, but try to keep it to just a page. Like the longer you go, you're going to have a tendency, especially when you're writing about yourself, to write, add. Delete, man. Like keep that under a page. At the bottom, put all your contact info. Like here's my Twitch, here's my Instagram, here's my TikTok. And then, let it ride from there. And a lot of times a well-written press release, the journalists, if they're doing their job, will follow up with you and be like, hey, I actually want to like have you on my podcast, or I want to interview you. And then you can really get into the like more fuzzy, like deeper detail stuff. But the press release should be really like it's almost like a formula.
bigger target.
Yeah.
Keep it
Wider
short,
net.
and then the ones who want to climb down that rabbit hole have something else. So I want to take a step back before that. First off, why a press release? 2, when a press release? When is it a good time to get a press release?
Good questions. Also, like there's various levels of this. Like I work at a label. I still use Submit Hub, dude. Like
Really?
I know that's maybe I'm doing it wrong, and someone please tell me, but like I still find value in Submit Hub. We still do it as a label at Position. We love the indie third party, small bedroom journalists. Like
That's insane to me that you're not doing, you're not like.
But we also do the bigger ones, like with like.
But I mean, like still, like if it wasn't worth it, you wouldn't do it.
We find value in it, man, and like. It just looks better.
It's so accessible. Like anybody can do that.
If you don't know what it is, Submit Hub is just like, I think you pay like I don't even know the monetary. They have credits and it's this whole thing, but it's not.
It's like $1 per
like
submission.
Cheap. Yeah.
It's very cheap.
And you basically get your music heard by like playlist editors and journalists. There's now there's an option for influencers. Like it's actually a pretty well run website.
Yeah, and you probably pay for like PR people as well that like reach out for you.
But then for our bigger artists, we're dealing with like a hired monthly retainer press agent. But it's the same scrutiny of like pitching your music on Submit Hub versus like doing it through a bona fide IRL human, It's
so why a press release? Why should people read a press release?
It's a good question. The press, that's a whole other podcast, is like music press, but I do think it adds a level of validity when you have a music journalist who writes about you. I think you think of like Googling, when you Google an artist, and instead of just their own links, you have
saying,
like,
I'm awesome.
Yeah, it's like, someone else does. And like, it just adds like, it's almost like a verified badge or something like that. Like
social validity.
Yeah. And like, it's hard to get, man. I'm not saying it's easy, dude. Like, I strike out every time, like a lot with like some press, and you can't take it personally. There's only so much space on these like more premium websites, but when you do get that look, it just kind of like, it's like a stamp of social currency. Yeah, that's the best way to put it, really. It's just like, okay, like this is on the scene. Also, it does like practically help with SEO and like Google like upranks like certain publications. It also can help you get a Wikipedia page. Like it can open a lot of doors for like SEO kind of things. Like, Wikipedia is a whole other kind of market. It's a weird, like, artists ask me, it's this weird zone, right? It's
I've tried to get a Wikipedia page too. Like it's a whole rabbit hole.
But I think when I have been successful in getting Wikipedia pages for my artists, it's because they have press. And it's not like, Wikipedia can see through if like, oh, it's Paul from Position Music applying for artist X. Like, no. But if I say, wait, they were written in Spin Magazine or Pitchfork, or, they have like that, then I've had a lot higher success rate with like Wikipedia. But
can you pay for press in these bigger things? Like if somebody independent wants to get onto Pitchfork or something more substantial.
Yeah.
Can you email them and pay for the service, or is it straight up they'll come to you?
It's a good question. There are some publications that will do a little like, oh, buy some ads on my site, and there's a whole like weird, scummy kind of.
I don't remember the name of it, but there's
underbelly.
probably something like Galaxy LA that just emails everybody.
I'm not gonna say anything, but yeah, there's that stuff out there. I think the tried and true, the pitchforks, the spins, the billboards, the varieties, they have ethical journalists on staff, and they're not gonna like let money. They're gonna try to be as pure as possible, but again, it does DK. It goes back to our thing of like, what's gonna get them clicks, like,
Yeah.
and so it is this kind of thing of like. You have to drive traffic to their website if they're going to run your thing, and so you do have to think of it like that. But if I were you, advice or whatever, I wouldn't do any pay to play journalism stuff out there. I think it's tempting. I get it, the allure of it.
Even with Submit Hub, you're paying for it, but they have to approve it.
Correct.
There's like an approval. Like they have to like it.
There's no like guarantee with Submit.
Like it's
Hub.
okay to have a little bit of gatekeeping. Like that means that they have something quality to share.
Right. Yeah.
That's interesting. The idea of like, okay, so when press release, is it alongside an album? Is it with shows? Or is it just whenever you fucking can?
I always do mine like, let's just go with the traditional Friday release day. I always send mine out on like Tuesday or Wednesdays when we would do the Submit Hub, and we would say, hey, this is coming out on Friday. Because the idea being like the journalist gets it on Wednesday night. They read it, they think about it, they look at what they're posting, and then they decide if they have it. I think it's too late if it's on the day of release. I think the ship has already sailed. Usually you want it like on day of release, like new song out now. And then so that 48 hours before a release is kind of what I've done. Now, tour marketing is a whole other thing. That one,
I have so many questions about Tor.
Yeah, that's a whole
utilizing Tor. We won't even get into it.
It's a whole other podcast, dude. I'd have to come back for that one. But with those, you usually have like a big announce day, and you're sometimes with those, depends again on the size of the artist, but like you'll actually have like a premiere partner, like I don't know, Stereo Gum will like run your dates first or whatever, and like you have this whole thing, and you like behind the scenes like let them be the premiere. You like put fishing lines out there and like, do you want to premiere this and be the first to like announce it? So I've had those situations, which is always kind of nice. But tour dates too, also like the venues like to have the announce day. They like to have the on sale day. It's like a whole different kind of beast. But I would do it for every release, save if you can, if you're fortunate enough, like $10 to $50 on Submit Hub can help.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Because we're running out of time, I want to ask you a couple questions real briefly. Thoughts on utilizing AI for marketing?
Whew.
Briefly.
Wow, man. So I use it. I use ChatGPT for press releases.
For press release, yeah.
But
that was the first thing I thought of when you were talking about writing, being articulate. It was like
I'm giving away all my secrets, but it speeds me up, man, because I struggle with the blank canvas problem where I'm like the little cursor's blinking on a Google Doc and it's like nothing's in there yet. And so sometimes I'll type in ChatGPT like, okay, write a release for an artist, and it doesn't have to be an artist that has press. ChatGPT is crazy, you guys. You can be like, you can almost like trick it to be like, you describe like an artist from Brooklyn who makes electronic music and, was born in blah, blah, blah. And it can like totally like.
Dude, I use it all the time for the description of the episode. Yeah. It's insane.
But then I do think, and I hope this never gets lost, but maybe the AI will get so good that it can start doing this for me. I definitely edit that.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like perfect out the gate. I've never ever have like sent off what ChatGPT
but it saves you
wrote.
time.
But it will save me that
Worth
initial
thumbs up.
I think I'm like a moderate thumbs up. I think it helps me, it augments me, and it saves me time. That's really
amazing.
It just gets the ball rolling, and like all of a sudden I have text to respond to, and I can edit from there, and I'm much more comfortable doing that than like the blank, starting from scratch can get a little intimidating sometimes.
I think a lot of people agree with you on that, and that's a great tool to utilize. Another thing too, and we'll end it on this, right, is I have a song, regardless of whether or not it's good, I believe in it. I believe in it. My friends believe in it. Maybe they're liars and they just want to support me regardless of what I do. But the point is, I believe in this product, this song, right? And I'm willing to go as far. I only make $36,000 a year, but I'm willing to go as far as to spend $1,000 or $2,000 on marketing alone. Mixing and mastering's already done. Song's already done.
Great.
But I'm just getting started. Or I only have a few hundred. I'm a local person.
Yeah.
What is some of the first and most effective things at a starting level to use that budget?
I love this question, DK. Content. So are we assuming that, like, I would hire, if it were me, I would hire a up and coming hungry college kid to help me shoot my own content? Because I think we talked about it earlier today, like, it can be hard to like film yourself and be by yourself making this stuff. But for whatever reason, when you have one other person filming you, it just feels a little bit more.
No, this gets me so excited. Keep going.
Yeah, it just makes it a little bit more legitimate. You can tell it's not someone else is filming you. I think it adds to the like look of it. So that would be my first. Let's just say $2,000.
Hold on, before you go into the second thing, the reason why I got so excited over that answer is because I'm assuming that almost anybody that doesn't have a clue what they're doing, including myself, my first thought was pay for a press release, pay for some info. You said pay for videographer to make not a music video, but
short
content.
form TikToks and shit. Yeah, that's
like holy, that's so awesome. Nobody thought to do that.
Because dude, that's gonna give you the dartboards at TikTok to catch the algorithm, to catch what this podcast caught on Apple Music and Spotify, more so than I think that the press release, the boosting of posts,
not
and all
running
that
ads
stuff, that comes later. I like to think of it as like the best ads, and I do boost a lot of posts. The best ones that have worked are when the artist has an organic snowball happening organically, and the phrase we use is like put gasoline on it and just kind of like, you know, lubricate it to more people or whatever you want to call it. And like, it's not, if the asset isn't working organically, it's not going to work paid on the paid side. At least that's my theory.
I'm going to say that one more time. If the content isn't working organically, it's not going to work if it's boosted or paid for.
It's just going to be a waste.
That is a great way to go. You said number one is hire someone. How much content should you be making? Like, how much do you want to, like, how much, 25% of your budget, 100% of your budget? Like,
I would do, you know, these are rough numbers, but 75% towards content, I'd say.
Really?
Honestly.
On the capturing and the editing.
Yes.
Really? That's awesome.
And then I would say the 25% is kind of this earmarked, as you release the organic content, if something catches, you have 25% to boost that post. Also, I wanted to get into the nitty gritty. Spotify Marquee. Have you guys heard? I don't know.
Spotify
I guess I should explain what it is.
Please, yeah.
But I don't know if you guys have ever logged into Spotify.
You texted me about like Spotify new tech stuff.
Yeah. Marquee is this, it's Spotify's boosted post, if you will. And what it does is you know how you have followers and listeners on Spotify? Well, when you release and you go into your Spotify for artists now, if you go to manage song, it's in the upcoming tab. I can like do this in my sleep at this point. You can hit campaigns, and you can put. You don't need a ton of money actually. Like, it can be as low as I think $50 is the minimum. And what it does is, I don't know if you've ever opened Spotify, DK, but it'll like have the full page takeover of like new music from Toro y Moi, like listen now, and it's kind of this like
that light screen thing or whatever.
Yeah,
the pop-up. You pay for that?
Yeah,
that's the marquee.
That's the marquee, dude, and it works, man. And like people will click it. I've clicked it. What's cool, and Spotify,
that's insane. I didn't know that was accessible.
What's cool is that you can only, and I'm really happy Spotify did this, because I think if they opened it up to anyone, you can only reach people that have listened to your music before. You can't like pay for like, otherwise we'd be getting like thousands of them, and we'd be like pissed.
It wouldn't be better for them.
Like if I got like some country music artist, I'd be like, what the hell is that? You know, because I don't listen to country personally, but
It would remove the experience from the
because they can only the artists that I listen to can ping me. It like excites me. Like Tori Moi dropped a new album. I had no idea. I'm gonna listen to that right now.
Yeah.
That to me is the best at the moment. Best use of like media money in the game
cow.
right now.
So briefly, most of your budget, get nicer, more focused, and high quantity
Yes.
of content.
Yes. And
And experiment. Do as far as what you've told me from the episode, experiment on a lot of different types. Like maybe some entertaining in this way, maybe some real and like down to heart,
Yeah.
maybe some funny stuff.
some informational ones.
Oh,
you know?
anything. Just
Yeah.
experiment.
Yeah.
If any of them sticks, if any of them it gets boosted by the algorithm, which means people are interested in it, potentially boost that post.
Exactly.
But let it go through its algorithm experiment.
Yeah, exactly. Give it 48 hours. I usually rarely boost the same day.
What about boosting on specific like boosting on Instagram, YouTube? Is there one that's better for boosting than? Is it worth boosting on TikTok?
I think it is.
Okay, it is. Okay.
I would say TikTok over IG at the moment. These things can change. Spotify number 1. YouTube is a sneaky one, by the way. YouTube boosting is a way. It's actually one of my favorite platforms to just the UI of it and everything. I really like it. Here are my rankings: Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, IG, and then Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Last
That's.
for music.
I mean, this is so insightful, and even I am like totally like dumbfounded. Like this was so many things to think about, such quality information, and because even at like you do this all the time at a super high level, but there's a lot of things that like I didn't even think about. I don't think about. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure there's people out here that like that are really highly going to benefit from this.
Hell yeah. I love that. And DK, I'm going to plug you for a second. This dude's beast master mixing engineer, helps us with a ton of music at Position and Hive. You guys are all learning from the best. And also just, it's been awesome getting to know you. And thanks for like having me on. You can, if you do have follow-up questions, whether you're DK or out there, I'm Paul Crary. Paul.
So yeah, where can people find you?
Yeah,
Do your
Paul.
plugs.
Yeah, Paul_Crary on Instagram is probably the best way, and then Position Music is the company I work at. Position Music spelled normal on all the social platforms. Honestly, I spend more of my time on those than my personals these days.
Yo, Paul's gonna be way too busy to answer any of your DMs if you listen to this episode 5 years too late. Okay.
Right.
So as soon as this episode drops,
That's when you hit me.
You want to hit up Paul right now.
Crary. Yeah,
Follow
yeah.
Paul. Hit him up.
I'm on Twitter, but I'm like, I have a weird Web3 persona that I don't want to mix my worlds right now, but I'm on there.
That's so.
But
fun.
I'm like a gamer nerd. That's actually how DK and I really hit it off.
Yeah,
about
because
keyboards.
you build mechanical keyboards too.
So I'm in that shit. But yeah, Paul_Crary at Instagram. Hit me.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. This is actually a really great episode. Maybe we'll do like a part 2 eventually in the future.
I'm down, man.
But
we're so fucking close to each other,
yeah, dude, this
It's
is
easy.
insane. Dude, I don't know. There's something about this that gets me excited because I'm so frustrated with all my really close friends or like artists that I truly believe in, but they just haven't figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not the music stopping them. It's like you listen to this person with like 16 monthly listeners, but you're like, God
know,
damn,
man.
like to provoke something in you that like you've never felt.
Keep trying, guys, and don't give up. And we talk about the pros of the algorithm. I did want to just say it can be depressing to be on the other side where it's not catching and you're like, what's wrong with me? And
That's a natural reaction.
Totally, and I get that. And
It's my fault.
Yeah.
I suck.
but really, you gotta. As much as I can tell you, just keep trying and keep throwing darts at that dartboard. Because if the music is authentic and real, and you're being yourself, I think people will find you. And it's literally a matter of it's a numbers game of like rolls of the dice. Mm-hmm. So
And if there was a secret formula that all the labels are keeping secret, then they wouldn't have to pay Paul so much goddamn money and give him a budget
It's true.
to throw random
Wish.
darts
If you
at the
know
wall.
that formula, please fucking tell me.
There's not a number of choruses that you put in. That's more of an A&R question,
Totally.
right? But like, people are like, what's the secret sauce?
there
I
is.
think the most insightful thing that you taught us today is that this is all normal ass shit done at a high level of efficiency and high level of understanding
Yeah.
of like, you just have to do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is insane.
Yeah, man.
And it's so hopeful. Like, it's a very
I was
hopeful
listening
message.
to your podcast, an older episode, and you were talking about how like you can blame the gear or the ear. You had this whole little bit about like your gear and stuff, and like, dude, the people that are making moves are the ones who just use what they got and are like Fortet is one of my favorite artists, and he has this Instagram post that just sticks with me every day. But he goes, "Here's what I've recorded this epic album on." It's his I can see the album art, but I can't think of the name right now. Wow. But it's just a freaking MacBook and like one little MIDI 25 key keyboard on the side. And it's like a platinum record, probably. Like, it's huge. And it's just like, damn. Like, he just was literally in Ableton, one little MIDI keyboard, and like could make it. And he didn't use any excuse. He wasn't like whining about anything. He just like did the work, you know?
Yeah, it's so funny because
there's
it
something about
only
that.
it only appears genius and thoughtful and smart in retrospect.
Totally.
It only, like, Mr. Beast only seems so calculated because he's fucked up so many times. That's like, now he seems smart in retrospect. But nobody, no producer of even commercial can know what's gonna hit.
Totally, dude.
But you only see, you only see
only
genius
see it
in
when-
retrospect,
yeah.
which is crazy. Anyway, we could go on and on. This has been an
was
awesome
fun, man.
episode. Thank you so much. Please rate 5 stars. Mixing Music Podcast, that helps us a lot. It's an easy way to build an audience for us and help us boost us on our algorithm. We appreciate y'all listening. Go check out our sponsors. Go to mixingmusicpodcast.com/exclusive for our exclusive episodes for more mixing and mastering tips to help you level up. And on that note, happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
Hey. Dope, dude. That was
Dude,
fun, man.
right on time.
That was great. That was
There you
It's fun
go.
for me to like zoom out too, and like I don't get to talk like that. You know, I'm always like in the fucking weeds a little bit,
Yeah,
and so like
it's fun because I know, because when it comes to mixing and mastering, I have a hard time pulling back into like the
right,
day-to-day things that most people are thinking about.
right,
So that's like, I was trying to like pull you back. Okay, why?
Yeah,
When?
no, it's
And you're
great.
like, you were perfect with
super
everything.
great, dude. That was fun, DK.
That was awesome. Oh, dude, that episode's gonna do really well. I feel
Okay,
like.
great. I owe you. I'm gonna send you that Tyler the Creator thing.
Yeah.
I also will send you that Fortet post.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you have show notes or if you do. That.
I do show notes, of course,
Okay.
of course. Well, I mean, the description in the episode.
Right. This kid, when's he gonna be in position music? He's on his way.
Anyway, dude, I'm sorry about your dirty meeting.
Oh,
I'm watching the classic. Oh, yeah. I told you I would show you. Thanks, y'all.